How are you guys doing? I want to talk a little bit about the dislike factor. Look at my videos, scroll down, pick any video. Preferably pick one that has a higher number of views, and look at how many likes and how many dislikes. Now, this used to intrigue me, and I used to think, like, why? I have some videos that I think I would improve if I could go back and edit them better, or if I could do something differently or change some things. But I think it's better to get it out there than to obsess for weeks over trying to get every little bit of perfection into it and every little mistake out of it. And you guys are always so encouraging, so that helps me to get out more videos faster and not over obsess and micromanage every little detail, as long as the important bulk of what needs to get out goes out. But some videos, there's a few videos I really spent weeks trying to make as perfect as possible, edit every split second to be exactly how I wanted it to be. Nothing negative, nothing criticizing anybody, nothing taking sides in any controversial issue. Just pure, happy, positive video. Short, sweet, music, fun. And those videos get dislikes. And some of my subscribers would say, like, who could dislike this video? So I thought it was weird that the ratio was pretty similar too. If you look at some of the videos, you get up to about 100 likes, and there's inevitably about 2 or 3 or 4 dislikes for every 100. It's a pretty even ratio. So then I looked at some other channels, and I found the same thing. Look up any video on YouTube, anywhere. If it's gotten enough attention that it's gotten about 100 likes or more, it could have 10,000 likes. You'll see a bunch of dislikes. And if it's basically a decent video, you'll find the ratio is very similar. It's about 2 to 4% dislikes to likes. So for every 100 likes, there's about 2 to 4 dislikes. And you could look up any video. I literally do this right now. Put in the search bar, firefighter rescues kitten. You'll find a whole bunch of videos of firefighters rescuing kittens, like heroic, adorable, full of dislikes. How could people dislike everything? Who out there? Like, how could there be something that is so happy and positive and yet somebody dislikes it? And how come it's the same percentage? Like, what is that? And I honestly think you talk to enough people, and now the funny thing about the internet is it allows people to anonymously express their innermost thoughts and feelings without feeling that anyone will find out who they are, and they won't suffer any repercussions or consequences. So it's kind of like a window into the soul of humanity, unblocked by the normal masks that we wear and the screens we put over ourselves to shield people from seeing our true thoughts, because deep down inside we know if we showed the uglier stuff inside, people would respond to us negatively. And so a lot of people walking around are hiding some judgmental, crankiness, but they express it freely when they can just click that little dislike button. So this is funny. It's kind of interesting to think that like 2 to 4% of humanity is just walking around cranky about everything and just not feeling satisfied until they can put their little bit of negativity into everything and stab everybody with a little bit of it. It's like you see a beautiful sunrise and they say, "Oh, that's a bunch of BS." Like that beautiful sunrise isn't that great. What makes you think it's that great? I'm gonna show you how much I don't think it's that great with hitting that dislike button. So, okay, that's all well and good and fun, and maybe that'll take some stress off of some of you, because you realize, why is that person always pick on me? If you're a more sensitive person or you're a more vulnerable person, you're going to find people in your life who always, without fail, like, bring out the negative or attack, criticize, belittle. And most people would say, stay away from those people. And I wouldn't disagree with that. I would take it a step further and I would say, find it funny. Like, seriously, like there's nothing that repels those people faster than laughing at how silly that is and being joyful, you know, in the presence of their curmudgeonry, if that's a word. But let's take it a step further. Oh, my keys just fell. That's okay. Hold on. This is a difference of perspective. You and I and most people can see the world is full of good and bad and medium as we see it. And they only see the world full of bad. So that's a difference of perspective. And we can see how off their perspective is, how warped their vision is. But then there's also people out there who always see things positively, who are always happy, who are always rising above the negative. Now, they're much more rare. They might even be more rare than the 2 to 4% negative. And then you have everybody else. And then you have the super positive. They might be less than 2 to 4%. But you know there's people like that. Hopefully you've met at least one in your life, even if it was briefly. Some point when you were in a class or at a job or something. Just one person who's always making everybody feel better. Always brightening the world. How do they see the world compared to you? Are they delusional? Or are they seeing the world as more realistic than you are? Maybe just as much you can see those thumbs down people are super warped. Maybe compared to the super positive people, your vision that you think is mainstream and normal is a little bit warped. Maybe those super positive people, maybe there's an even higher level that sees so much potential of positive and beauty in the world that the majority of humanity is seeing everything warped. So think about that for a second. I'm sure you've thought of a time where you were like really down and negative about something. And then looking back years later, you're like, you know what, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe it was so painful going through something. And then a few years later, you say, you know what, that was a time of growth. I needed that. Maybe you got disciplined by a parent, and you were mad at them. And then growing up, you're like, I totally needed that. Maybe you went through a horrible heartbreak, and then years later you say, that helped me grow as a person. I was really immature. Like, I can see now why I had that breakup. Perspective is so interesting. So that being said, think about what here's another one. People who are struggling with weight. They say, this is a common one. I wish I was as skinny right now as I was 10 years ago when I thought I was fat. When I really started worrying about how fat I was so much skinnier than I am now. Like, now I wish I could just get down to that weight where I first thought I was fat. That's this crazy, and people say the same thing about if their health, about, if they're going through financial problems. Like, I wish I was as broke now as I was when I first thought I started to go broke. Now it's really bad. Or, and it can go the other way. It can go up or down. But the point is, take your circumstances right now. Think about what's really bugging you, something that's really negative, and you say, it can't get any worse in this situation. Or it's so miserable. I wish it wasn't like this right now. And stop for a second and just try to see the whole world. And try to step out of that and look at yourself as another person and say, what would a potentially super positive person say to me right now? That person that's always lifting everybody up, what would they say about my circumstances? Would they say, it's not that bad. You got to look at it a little differently. You're just going through a time. You're going to get stronger out of this. This is going to make you a better person. It's going to make you tougher. You're going to be thankful you went through this. Or when you get through this, you're going to appreciate the little things so much more. Everything that the people who have been given everything take for granted. You're going to appreciate it because you've known the depths of suffering, and you can't experience the pure, delicious heights of joy as much if you can't compare it to how deep you've suffered. Suffering deepens the human spirit. It burns off all that doesn't matter, and it makes you a bigger, fuller, richer person in all aspects. But you don't feel it when you're going through it. You just feel the agony and the deep desire for it to just end. So think about that right now, and think about how you're going to get through this. You're going to be okay. And if you're going to look back on this and say, I needed it, this was good for me in the future, maybe you should stop right now and say, this isn't so bad. And maybe that's a lesson you needed to learn. And maybe if you learn that lesson now in the midst of your suffering, you'll get through the suffering that much faster, because you'll have the energy to do what you need to do to get out of it. And that lesson will be learned. And you'll actually not only benefit from the suffering, but decrease how long you have to go through it, simply by stepping back and looking at things a little differently, like the person who gives thumbs up a lot more than the person who gives thumbs down, or the person who does nothing. Think about that. It's something I'm going to think about. See you guys.